privileged to be part of having a very interactive and engaging discussion with fellow panelist members who are leaders from their payments industry, joining us to share some of their perspective on what are the challenges that we would really like to hear in terms of adoption on the data security measures that are today becoming very critical. And before that, I would just like to set the context that we all are aware that our digitization has actually transformed the payment services industry. And with rise of cloud adoptions also becoming very quite popular, there are a lot of areas where there is a concern on the data security, which is also becoming very important. Apart from that, there are regulatory mandates and compliances that also are ensuring that organizations do step into tighten those security initiatives. And with that, we would like to hear more from the eminent panelists out here. Before that, I would request each of the panelists also to introduce themselves with respect to what they are leading in the organization and what the organization is specializing into. And then we can start away into the questions that I can start from Anand, then I can go to Neeraj and Hilal before I jump to VP Nayar. So Anand, I think each of us, it will be worthwhile for a minute to introduce ourselves.
Yeah, I think thanks. I'm Anand. I am the founder and CEO of PaySprint. PaySprint is largely into a P2P Fintech infrastructure company. We empower, hundreds of partners into the Fintech. And I think it's an exciting journey. I think as India, I believe that we are in an exciting phase. And I think we're really enjoying what we're doing. So thanks.
Over to you, Padmnabhan.
Yeah, hi. Good afternoon, everyone. So I start my introduction always say as a secure name for security industry. So myself V Padmnabhan Nayar, which abbreviates to VPN, which is a very popular name in security industry. So you can remember me by VPN. I heads the business for Thales India for banking and payments vertical.
Hi all, good afternoon. I am Neeraj. I represent PayU. With PayU, I work as a CIO, and with PayU, I am.
Neeraj, I might be close to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now it's better. So let me start again. Okay, I am Neeraj. I represent PayU, and with PayU, I am associated for like more than 6 years. I take care of technology part, and data and security comes inherited with it. So looking forward for this event.
Great. Over to you, Hilal.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Hilal, and I'm the group CISO for Razorpay. I look after security, compliance, regulations, and information technology for our companies. Thank you.
Great, thanks everyone for introducing, and I think I will start, Hilal, with you from that side too, and then come to this side. So maybe just quick one to start in terms of some of the top challenges that you foresee or you have been coming across in your function perspective from the data security measures that is in concern for you. I mean, just some light pointers would be helpful.
Absolutely. I mean, for us, data security is of paramount importance, right? One of the core focus for all the fintechs is to basically make sure that they retain the customer trust, and that's only possible through basically having a robust data security mechanism in place. So literally, there is always going to be a challenge when we are actually addressing all the different needs that are basically achieve a certain baseline for data security. So from the technical basically challenges, which include basically your infra decisions that you make, the application decisions that you make, to basically the operational challenge that you have. For example, how to maintain the data privacy aspect of it, the process aspect of it, and everything, right? So all of those combined together basically make it very important for us to have a very robust data security plan, right? it all starts with basically from the moment we actually launch an application or basically acquire a customer. So entire life journey for that particular customer has to be properly planned in a way that data security becomes the #1 priority for us. And it has always been basically not just a core focus for Razorpay, but entire fintech industry has been mandated by regulatory requirements as well to make sure that we comply with all the relevant data security standards, compliance, and all the other laws that we have to follow, right? Apart from that, I think it's also important to understand that with basically a robustness in the application system that we have today, right? So it's important to make sure that the data security aspect of it is like not an afterthought, right? So we actually plan from the very start of the customer journey to the very end of it to make sure that there is no weak spot in our entire data security flow and data flow at all. Yeah, thanks.
Great. Thanks a lot, Hilal, for Neeraj, coming to you, and just in case any pointers that you also want to add to the challenges that you foresee, which Hilal or most of them covered, but in something from a specific, or I will then ask another question to you.
No, I will echo with Hilal, okay, in most of it. Only one addition to it is, like when we see the data, right, the definition of data, forget about security. First, the definition of data and how we get ourselves, whether it's a company, whether it's a family, whether it's as an individual, how we understand our data. Okay, we need to be very sure and spreading that awareness as a country itself, right? We are maturing in sense of our data and our rights and all. So spreading that awareness not just to company employees, but as a citizen, as an individual also, it takes a lot of effort, and that's how you can categorize and take the required measures how you're gonna secure it, and then incorporating into a data security by design, then take a pillar and take off.
Got it. So coming to a specific question that I had in mind to bring up for you was that most of the fintechs now we are seeing are cloud-born kind of organization, and in light of the wider adoption of cloud becoming quite important in the journey, cloud providers come up with something called shared responsibility operating model, where they truly say that there are certain aspects of security for us, but whenever it comes to the security of data, it is for the users to drive it with the respect to adoption. So in that light, how do you see the certain measures becoming very critical from ensuring the security controls in the cloud journey?
So let me give you a very interesting example, right? In urban cities, most of us live in apartments, okay? And in our apartment, outside security is there.
Correct.
Okay. But we can't leave our house security responsibility to those security agencies and the safety guard guys which are sitting outside. And that's how I see cloud. See, whether they mention that or not, it has to be shared responsibility, because you can't simply rely on others. It's your house, it's your home, it's your company, it's your data, it's your control. Okay, you can't outsource it. Some piece of it, yeah, you can have peace of mind, but anyway, it's your responsibility.
Excellent.
Another piece is, okay, when we adopt cloud, right, it's not an overnight decision for any company, whether it's a small or bigger one. So we have to be very, very clear what matters to you. Okay, what all features you are looking after, and you need to be spell out very clearly how you gonna tackle, because no cloud or no security product will solve all problem of yours. So you need to be self-aware. That's what my take is.
Great, thanks, Neeraj. In fact, a very right analogy that it's more like an secure apartment when you go into a cloud environment, where your room, you have to put your own lock, or you can decide if you have to drill hole to get fresh air. So this is where the security controls become very important for an user side to be effective and implement rather than purely relying it on the cloud provider. So I will come back again on those some specific technology areas which you feel would be important. Coming to you, VPN, I think you have been helping the fintechs and banking industry for a long time in tackling some of the major problems in the cloud adoption they have faced through. It will be great help if you can share some of the problem areas that these organizations have related or discussed with you in terms of their cloud journey.
Okay, so a very good question. And I'll just take the cue from Hilal and Neeraj that you have given a very good example. So the major challenge what the people see going towards the cloud journey, like when you are putting trust on over them. So how to secure your keys? Like anyway you are going your data and you are using the encryption and giving the keys to them. So one of the challenge what I see and we are providing solutions to that is the key management, which is a very important. Second is that when you are choosing a cloud, it's a big decision, as you mentioned. Now, whether you are getting logged into one cloud, what I understood from the fintechs, they are trying to use the multiple clouds, or they do not wanted to get logged into one particular cloud. When they wanted to move their data from one cloud to other cloud, they should have the solution for that. So we believe and thrive in Thales that building a future which we all can trust. So all our solutions or our products are built with that future. So that's what your trust part I have just said. So we ensure that you manage your trust of your customers. We manage through you.
Thanks VPN, excellent. Coming to you, Anand, now. You being quite recent, I mean just 3 years old organizations growing very fast, what is the specific regulatory mandate that you foresee is driving certain security measures within your organization, which could be related to the compliances that are applicable to you, whether it is from the PCI side or any other applicable compliances that you also need to adhere to? And that is driving those specific initiatives for your operations.
Yeah, I think being a young startup, right? The first thing as a fintech, I think one thing is very clear with our side is that what we represent is a bank, right? And I mean, we may bring in a larger adoption of what banking services, but at the end of the day, the customer belongs to bank, right? The data. The data security is so critical to us, and keeping in mind that the entire compliance of what bank has to serve is also our responsibility at the end of the day, right? So if you look at our journey when we started, obviously we didn't start in a cloud. We started ourselves, and then as we grew, we really went into cloud because strongly believe that if we need to expand, we really need to do. But going to cloud didn't mean that the entire responsibilities goes to them. So it's important that we also do much more work in terms of managing those data, ensuring we secure this data, and all those compliances which bank would typically look at, right? So I think in our journey we have ensured that we've been, whether it's a PCI DSS or whatever the bank has been, are the latest data protection. I think whatever needs to be done, I think we have been ensured that we do it ourselves. And cloud may be more of a location for us, but I think it's very prominent. It's very, very critical that we maintain and we have complete data security for us.
Thanks, Anand. So I will now go this way for my next set of questions, and I think I'll just come to you, VPN, again. Just some of the technology trends in data security that you have seen and helping customers in fulfilling those requirements.
So more of technology trend, like we are talking about fintechs. So what fintechs basically are, they need a solution or things they want to start small and expand, and they need a more of an agile solution. And plus the solution should take care of all their regulatory compliance. As Anand mentioned, they are a representative of banks. Now, whatever the compliances a bank has to go through, so all those things has to be adhered by them. So what we generally see, the people coming to us, is how this compliance can be met.
Okay.
The second could be the PCI DSS and thing. So the solutions which they can quickly get into the compliances met, and they can. It should be a modular kind of thing, that if you get a solution which you can start small and a cost-effective solution and build a big as you go.
Got it. So it would be but more from the technology trend side, which I meant to probe was primarily when you see that it is the major ask for organizations to ensure data at rest encryption, then go take it to data in motion, along with data moving in cloud, controlling the part of those keys in your control, defining the key management part of it.
Absolutely. As Neeraj given the example, when your apartment, when you lock, the most important thing is that when you lock, you take the keys, you securely manage the key. And that is what is the solution, what everybody is looking for. How to securely manage their keys. And it's a very, the data at rest and data in motion encryption is important. But the managing the keys of that encryption is
very critical, absolutely. So success of encryption lies in key management, and this is where we foresee that there is a quite serious attention now given, which has not been there earlier. Got it, Nayar.
Yeah. So any regulatory compliance, the recent compliance from the SEBI guidelines is there. So wherever you see, they all talk about you managing your own data, and the best way to manage your own data is to do the encryption and manage your keys.
Got it. Thanks. Neeraj, coming to you now, I understand that data has become the new perimeter. And with that, there is a requirement to ensure that you protect the data wherever it goes. So what are some of the techniques or the technologies that you feel is helping in achieving these concerns to strengthen the data security and not relying just to a piece of stack that is protecting just the perimeter or just having constraints around the data flow within the organization?
I think this is the one of my favorite question, okay? Because when we talk in forums or when we talk even at ease, we usually talk about data in motion, data at rest, how to secure, how to put all these controls and all. But one of the topic which is not really discussed is the accessibility of data. Okay? We keep talking about IAMs and controls and all, but I don't see, it could be my visibility issue, but I haven't seen products or the solutioning part which take care of your accessibility of data, like RBAC people are usually familiar, but when we talk about ABAC, right, attribute-based access control, there are not many products which are designed with that algorithm. If that comes into the picture, most of your common sense mistakes can be easily avoided. And people keep saying, okay, that part, every company is different, every environment is different, every need is different, everything has to be customized. No. Okay. If you give a generic framework or platform or solution, how to manage the access of attributes of your data, that's gonna help us a lot. Because for that, in PayU, it's been 6 or 7 years, we were putting constant focus and we are developing in-house. And the amount of effort and resource we have put it is tremendous. So that is the area we don't want to start that as a product, okay, because we are in a finance institute. But that product, I see a serious scope, and VPN's key algorithm, key management algorithm can complement it very well.
Got it. Thanks, Neeraj. Coming to you, Hilal, I think important developments we are seeing around happening other than data security is data privacy. and now that's becoming quite important in consideration with lights of regulations like GDPR that have been implemented overseas, and our own data privacy bill that is also being discussed and talked about. So where do you see a change within the security framework or the security adoption with these coming in, where typically in the data privacy mandates is to have privacy by design into the applications or into the architecture that you are coming up with compared to the legacy applications which did not have this point of view?
So I think this is very important, right? So you think of data privacy and then you think of, okay, what exactly is data privacy, right? For a consumer, it means that his data remains private.
Correct.
And should not be accessible to anybody but him, right? And there is no way that he will be like okay with it getting basically breached or it getting exposed or basically it being used for other than the purpose that it was actually acquired. So in order for us to have this privacy by design concept basically baked into our entire data privacy framework, it's a combination of basically your technical, logical, and non-technical controls, right? So you have basically like on the technical side, you want to make sure that you have the right kind of tools like encryption, you have like proper IAM and things like that. That will basically make it sure that the data is not being accessible by people who are not supposed to access it. Then of course like we have basically the access management piece of it, which means that you have to properly define the roles and responsibilities and again the brackets and again the privilege levels that which they can access that particular data. And that's actually a logical control which you actually implement to make sure that only the applicable or the relevant people actually get access to that data. Finally, the non-technical part of it is basically making sure that there's a governance on it. There has to be oversight, which is driven mostly by compliance and mostly by regulations. But at the same time, it has to be understood that there has to be a proper review mechanism to be in place that actually is a periodical review or a continuous review that actually makes sure that the data privacy is not violated. Like, you brought basically the GDPR and basically the upcoming India PDPA basically laws that are going to be basically applicable to us, right? So they're very stringent laws, right? So meaning that the data that you are going to be acquiring, like it can be customer data, it can be basically own data as well, right? At some point. So you want to make sure that like all the applicable privacy laws are basically like adhered to and separate, right? And one of the primary challenges for that is to understand and basically like make sure that the privacy law that actually states that, okay, your data is not exactly, you're the custodians of the data, you're not the owners of the data. So the customer is basically the owner of that data.
Correct.
So they have to be in charge of what happens to their data. So to bring that entire framework where you have to basically implement those controls, where you do believe that you have given the customer the ability to basically like to manage the data the way he actually wants to manage it is very important. So I think this is a game changer in terms of basically data privacy, the law that India is actually going to bring about. And we certainly welcome that because that means there will be a lot more transparency and there will be a lot more governance on it.
Thanks, Hilal. And just to add on, continue with that, I think Anand, the very important piece that I want to understand from you, so which one would take more prominence in the initiative, data privacy or data security?
I mean, if you ask me, I think it's both.
Absolutely, both dovetail in each other, but it's something to start with would be on the privacy part or on the security
privacy
part?
is important, and I
Correct.
think as the data protection bill, I think very important is there's a consent of the customer, which has become, as rightly Hilal said, the data belongs to the customer, it does not belong to anybody else, and he gives you the authority to use that even for doing all your artificial AI into it to understand his user needs. So I think it's an interesting proposition that's happening, and there is a policy around data privacy which is coming. I think it's a very good, and I think this will surely lead to data protection for sure, right? So I mean, data privacy first, but yes, I think both are very, very critical for us.
Absolutely. Thanks, Anand. In fact, data privacy and data security go hand in hand now, rather than giving any preference. It's a joint kind of an approach taken within the initiatives in any of the new projects that are being taken up. Coming to you, VPN, I think very important for people to know is some of the top 3 use cases that from Thales Technology Solutions you are helping the payment services industry to meet their requirements. It will be great if you can share on those pointers.
Okay, so in payment industry, so most important solution which is known and by default all the regulators or compliance, the auditors themselves tell, which is being used by the most of the banks is the HSM. So post HSMs nowadays the new trend with the fintechs what is coming is the green pin, which is a web pin. You generate the pin and then you should take care of the security. Then the remote key loading, that over the internet if you are able to load the key and in the HSM itself, that's the new trend which is coming up. And more and more now the talks are, it's in a hush-hush way, but this is sooner or later the CBDC is going to come. So the discussions around that what are the solutions and how we can manage the CBDC well. So these are the new trends. Rest, as we always say that HSM is the baseline, and then there is a complete platform where you can pick and choose all the solutions.
Thanks, VPN. In fact, Neeraj, I will just touch upon on the CBDC part, which how do you see that really revolutionizing the payment services industry with initiatives if it is rolled out across the all the other financial institutions other than the pilot which is being considered?
Definitely it will be a game changer. There are so many products, okay, existing products, okay, I'm not talking about the new product. Existing product can be complemented by this, okay, and not just customer experience. Even if you talk about control and governance, that will also get strengthened, the way I see it. So there are things which we will discuss a bit later. I'm just pausing those thoughts for
Got it. No, absolutely. In fact, I will just, before going to Hilal, I will jump to you, VPN, again. What is the major technology stack that you are being offered from Thales to FinTech? And what is does? That would be great to share with us.
So with the fintechs, like basic thing is predominantly coming as they are the next arm and comply with all the compliances to the banks. Is the first solution which goes to HSM to manage their PCI compliance or thing. The second solution what they do, because they are a cloud, now they are using cloud and more to start with a low cost and then develop. So they need an agile solution, which is our Cypher Trust data security platform, which gives you a platform where you can start with very minimal, very cost effective, and then you can build as you grow.
Great. So Cypher Trust is a data security platform which helps organization to scale up from the security requirements and grow.
Absolutely. So what Anand was saying, that data, it's very hard to choose what data privacy or data security. Now, once if you implement the data security properly, data privacy always be taken care of.
So this platform offers both privacy and security.
Platform offers both the security.
Great. Hilal, coming to you, I think there has been a major concern around data sovereignty, and that requires certain initiatives where the cloud providers have come up with concept like customer managed keys in order to let you have the ownership of keys, and that approach is called bring your own key as an thing. How you see this becoming a very important element to incorporate in any of the cloud journey with respect to SaaS or PaaS adoption that organizations are doing currently?
Yeah, really important, right? So think about basically you using an application on a daily basis. It could be for communication, it could be for collaboration, it could be for anything that you use in that work, right? And you share a lot of sensitive data in those applications, right? So, and there are some proprietary knowledge in that application, right? And then you expect basically the vendor or the service provider to basically manage the security for you, right? And more often than not, what they will say is that, okay, this is all being encrypted. And this is obviously segmented and everything is isolated and things like that. But there's always going to be a challenge in verifying those credentials. So more often than not, we basically do not actually understand whether basically what is being claimed is actually being in practice. So what happens, it's always going to be a dark spot or a gray matter when we think about basically having the control on that sensitive data that you share with your vendors. So data sovereignty and it's like not just basically, it's no longer actually a good thing to have, it's like a must to have.
Okay.
Because it's being basically like pushed from the regulators as well, right? So because we have to have data isolation, geofencing for customer data. That's basically, in fact, like one of the primary requirements for us to basically have those licenses and everything to do in the fintech is basically on geofencing. So, for example, if you want to make sure that the customers are not being basically doing transactions they are not supposed to do, how do you do that geofencing? So with respect to basically making sure that we are in control of basically all the transactions, the data, and that whatever information flows through our systems, right? Isolation becomes like mandatory. And basically to enable security on top of that, the bring your own BYOK, which is like bring your own key, is actually a very novel concept. What happens that you may actually want the vendor to do the encryption on behalf of you, but you still retain basically the ownership of the keys. So you have that comfort and that basically that validation that you are still in charge of what happens to your data, right? So the encryption becomes like your responsibility and you are in charge of your data security. So I think it's very important, and this will become a standard for sure, right? So as long as we understand how the encryption actually happens on the other side of things, right? Even though like whatever protocols that may be actually in use, we still retain the ownership of those keys and the data. And that's actually a very big step with respect to data security and privacy.
Right. Thanks, Hilal. In fact, absolutely a valid point. Neeraj, just I will touch upon a very quick note to understand the investments coming in from the board for these privacy-enhancing technologies like tokenization or the key management part, or we just heard on bring your own key as a concept to implement. How do you see that being easy, or that is still an area which is tough from having the investments from the organization side in these upcoming requirement areas?
Over the 4 or 5 years, things have changed a lot.
Okay.
Okay. Lot of credit to many mediums to educate people. Okay. So now the job of mine and Hilal's is bit easier because people now talk about security.
Yeah, because I mean, where I'm coming from is it's more of a push kind of thing to be done, and unless you get any kind of incident, the sensitivity does not comes in. So now is it you see becoming quite easy for putting the investments, or still it goes?
For okay. Us and for Hilal also, I'm very sure.
Okay.
Because we are just like cousins. Okay. So it's easy for us because people are very well aware. Okay, they know the consequences, and I think due to the incident at global level, okay, smart people usually learn from others and they don't want to repeat. Okay.
Got it.
So fortunately we comes or fall in the same category. So job is a bit easier for us in that area.
Yeah. Thanks, Neeraj. Anand, I will just touch upon that recently all these data breaches, the ransomware attacks, the insider threat scenarios that are most also becoming very important, and certain coming in with a guidance saying that if there is any data breach, you have to report it within 6 hours of time frame. Now, how do you see that kind of impacting or the security initiatives within your organization, or how easy or difficult it is for you being in the cloud able to meet these asks?
I think, I mean, if you really look at currently, these are asks that's being put across to, and I'm sure as organizations we'll have to work towards it, right? and I think many of it, may not at this moment when we talk, it's still a work in progress. But I think eventually everybody will move towards that. And we also strongly believe it has to be that way. And I think as fintechs, as organizations, we strongly believe that even we will move towards it. So it's work in progress right now.
Sure. Thanks, Anand. So I think last question, Vipin, before I can conclude this in interest of time and not holding audiences, also just to from their lunch. So just 2 or 3 important criteria one should look at for a key management system to consider.
So I'll just say now, rather than meeting the compliance, the solutions what the company should invest, like security by design. Now, if you embedded the technology, the security from the DevSecOps itself, so your entire thing is taken care of. Like now, when you encrypt the data on a top layer, it always and manage the key effectively. Second, I'll just like to touch upon bring your own key thing. So it's not just important to bringing your own key, but how you are generating the keys, how you are completely managing the key in an automated scenario. That is more important. Now you generate the key. There will be a lot of cloud service providers will be giving their own platform to generate the key. So it's like what you've given that you have your mention where the security is outsourced. Where they are just telling that you take your card. Now, in India, how we have interacting with the people, most people are using the infrastructure as a service. Now, in infrastructure as a service, you have a more flexibility of bring your own encryption rather than bringing your own key. However, bringing your own key is the widely accepted form in any kind of thing, SaaS, PaaS, or the infrastructure as a service. The only thing is one must see that the keys are generated from a very random source in a secure source, and it is continuously changing. There should be a key life cycle, complete key life cycle management, that now you keep on changing the keys. You should be knowing who is accessed. Like when you are giving your own key to the cloud, then you should have a control of your keys completely. That's it.
Great. And just last thing, you mentioned 2 things. One, HSM, and other is key management. What are the differentiation between an HSM and key management? Can an HSM do a key management, or these are 2 different areas?
So excellent question, Ved. And then I think this will be, HSM is for securing your keys or generating your keys from a secure source. Like now it's a random key generator. But now the key management is a top layer. There is a one layer above the HSM. That HSM can do that. With we have a solution which you can bring in just as a software layer, and it can do that. You can develop your own, but it's more important to completely manage the key life cycle rather than just generating the key. So they complement each other.
Great. I think we can just summarize the discussion where I understand that a lot of new things like privacy by design being built in, security no more being an afterthought but has become the first step for any of the projects to take it up. And then with the cloud journey, especially aspects like bring your own key for SaaS and PaaS kind of environment. And then if it is infrastructure as service, bring your own encryption makes a very important security controls to tackle any of these data breaches or any of the other threat scenarios like ransomware or insider attacks, which insider threat which gets contained by these initiatives. So I thank all of you for really sharing this perspective, and it has been great hearing out, and we'll be looking forward to see how these technologies really being adopted by the larger ecosystem in terms of baselining them as a best practice and strengthening the initiatives on these measures. So thank you all. Thanks for joining, and yeah, sure.
Any questions?
Go ahead.
So we talk about the encryption thing. So right now, like as from an ethical hacking forums, like we need to hear about some more about cryptographic, quantum cryptography thing. So on the quantum cryptography thing, we came to know about like this right now RSA and this key, this encryption key, all can be get cracked. So there is a model called like store now, crack later. So what is your view upon this? Like I need to ask you about a VPN, so if you could answer this. What is your view?
So VPN would like to take it, or it's a bit deep technical? Then we have the technical specialist
So
with us who can
now
guide.
I'll just say
On
that
top
now
layer.
quantum is, as of now, it's just a thought. And about Thales, I'll just say that we invest more than 1 billion euro every year for R&D. What we also claim that the solutions what we are giving, it's a quantum safe. But when it actually arrives, at this moment we are only talking about quantum. There is nothing, no simulator or nothing there that we can simulate the things and test it. So as of now, until the quantum comes, which is we are waiting for so many years, so then only this will be easier. But you can definitely try like that.
Quantum safe algorithms have come that are already
Definitely.
inbuilt into the technology stack that I think from Thales side is being given to the payment ecosystem. But if any is specific, I think maybe you can catch a VPN offline and he can help you.
Sure.
Any other question from Neeraj or for Hilal or Anand to take up?
Yeah, just to add to that, right? So I think it's important to understand like where you're coming from, right? So for example, like the quantum cryptography, right? So it's becoming like sort of mainstream for blockchain and all the emerging technologies, right? I don't think anybody believes that the current cryptography basically is going to be enough for basically some advanced use cases. So in terms of basically, for example, like he mentioned that okay, store now and hack later, something like that, right? So which is interesting concept because in practical scenarios, when you actually do those kind of basically when you have that kind of use case, like where you actually like know that this encryption is going to be like this, so it supersedes basically the traditional collusion attacks or traditional basically like it's like impersonation of those particular keys and things like that doesn't happen now. So that's why I think the current quantum cryptography modules that are going to be mainstream, and I think it was actually basically going to be there was one white paper that was released very recently that was actually like combining the quantum cryptography with homomorphic encryption, because homomorphic encryption also did not actually have enough legs to basically become mainstream. So with basically like quantum cryptography basically adopting homomorphic encryption as default, it becomes like really important for us to basically consider those kind of measures as well.
Absolutely.
But very good question and really impressed with that. Thank you.
In fact, thanks Hilal for adding to that. And I think the latest development that we have also been hearing it is in-memory encryption, which is also coming. Confidential computing, which is again an important area that is being looked upon in terms of.
But those are computation heavy, so
Absolutely.
bit expensive in that.
Sure. Fine, then I think rest of us will be around. If there are any questions, you can catch us outside. In interest of time, let's conclude. And thanks. Everybody.
Thank you to all the speakers for making the session very interesting and informative. Before we close the session, may I request the moderator of the session, Mr. Prakash, to please hand over the mementos to the speakers, starting with Mr. Neeraj Chauhan. Mr. Hilal Lon. Mr. V. Padmnabhan Nayar. Mr. S. Anand. Now may I request Ruchika from Exhibition India to please hand over the memento to the moderator of the session.